What's up guys, Nick Rapazzi here. Welcome to the NR Motorsports YouTube channel. So today we're not working on anything. I'm just gonna do an overview on the Corvette, tell you what I've done from it, because some of you don't know this is a 2005 base model that I completely changed almost everything on it. And we're gonna do a bunch of stuff over the winter time too, so I'm super excited about this. But let's dive into the setup. We'll start with the engine first. So we have right here, this used to be an LS2 car, but I blew that up on the first turbo setup. It's the same turbo setup, but it was just on 8 pounds and everything was completely stock. Blew that up on 8 pounds. I think I drove it around for maybe 3 months on that setup. And then I couldn't find a LS2 or LS3 aluminum block that was in decent price range. They were going for like 25 to 3 grand just for the engine itself. And I knew I was boosting it, and I didn't want to just drop 2,500 bucks just to have a little bit of size or just something that came in this thing OEM. So we went with a 5.3 aluminum block out of a 2013 Silverado, and we tore it down to pretty much everything got replaced in it. So it's got a BTR Stage 3 turbo cam. It's got the crank out of the LS2 because I needed to keep the reluctor wheel in the back the same. So we did pistons, rods. We did Summit Racing piston rods, had them gap for boost, and that's pretty much it for the bottom end. They're rated to like 1150 horsepower. They're made by Wiseco, but they're branded for Summit. So I didn't want to spend the extra couple $100 just to get the name on it. And honestly, it's been reliable as hell. I beat the shit out of this thing daily. It's on a 76-75 millimeter precision turbo. It's their LS series. Right now it's pushing 15 pounds, making 660 wheel horsepower and 640 torque. It's got a Treadstone intercooler up front, 4-inch intake piping. Off the turbo it's a 3-inch. We did tile wastegate and blow off valve. Been working flawlessly. As you can see, it does get hot under here. This happened before. It melts the ends here when I'm really beating the shit out of this thing and it's getting hot, so I'm gonna have to replace this shit soon just so it's regulating the pressure properly. But everything's run off of spring pressure, so it's got a 15-pound spring in it, so it's always gonna make 15 pounds no matter what. I try to make this thing about as simple as possible. I'm not doing anything crazy like boost by gear or anything like that. Just stock, basically how a stock turbo setup would be. It's gonna run 15 pounds all day, every day. And we're going to be putting water meth on this, and the only thing holding me back from turning up the boost right now is the clutch. It's got a stock Z06 clutch in it, and it's been holding at 660 totally fine, and I didn't really want to push it any farther than that because most people only get maybe 600 out of them before they start slipping. But we do have a RTX twin disc, 1200 horsepower rated with a steel flywheel. What else we got on the setup? So stock intake manifold. I do want to upgrade that. So with doing the clutch on this thing, for me it's easier to pull the motor out because I don't have a lift. So I'm going to pull the motor out. We're going to send the heads out to Texas Speed, get them ported and polished with bigger valves. We're going to do a fast 102 intake, and then for the springtime I want to run a 20 to 22 pound spring and see where that sits us, because with the fuel setup that we have on here, it's got 80-pound injectors and a Hellcat pump in it, and I want to say that's good to about 850, 900 with the water meth setup. So another thing, we have an ATI balancer on this thing, stock transmission, which is very surprising because this has the glass transmission and glass diff. And even I've taken it to the drag strip and haven't grenaded it yet, thank God. But over the winter time, we're going to look for a ZR1 and a ZR1 diff, and if I can't find that, we'll do a TR6060 and then send them out to get built so we can handle the 1200 horsepower that this thing is going to eventually make. For wheel and tire setup, it's Forge Star. I want to say they're F14s. They're Z06 spec and front and rear, and I have a 295 up front and a 345 in the rear. These are Toyo R888Rs. Honestly, the best tire I've run on anything. Like the car feels on rails once this thing warms up and everything's good to go. and I would not put anything else on this. For the wide body, it's ACI Corvette, so I did their fenders, rear quarters, their fenders, and the hood is, I got it from a friend that got this at a swap meet because he thought it was an S2000 hood, and it turned out to be a Corvette. There was no name on it, so I didn't really know what it was. That's why I painted it, because it was all beat up and didn't really care that I had to cut a hole in it. What else? Oh, the front bumper on this is a stock Z06. That is a eBay wing, which we're going to be changing this out. I want to get a 9 Lives Racing chassis mounted, so we're going to fix the holes that we have in here from the other wing, this wing, and then put a chassis mounted wing on this as well for next year's season. I'm going to repaint this thing because it's got a single stage on it, and I neglected the fuck out of it. I just was happy that it looked good and it was all one color, but as you can see, it's fading 2 different colors from the thickness on here, and I barely washed this thing. The headlights, so I replaced these headlights with eBay like new lenses, and after like 6 months, this is what they look like. I did buy the C7 style, I just haven't had the chance to install them, and I'm probably just going to do it over the winter time just so I could paint the car, disassemble it, and then put it back together the way I want it. eBay lip, I buy these because I drive the fuck out of this thing, and as you can see, I consistently break these. I think this one lasted about a month before I destroyed it, but to mitigate that, when I do the chassis mounted wing, 9 Lives Racing has also come out with a front splitter that's chassis mounted, so we're going to do the chassis mounted splitter as well. Side skirts are eBay, and as you guys can see, it's got a side exit exhaust. So I tried to make, when I was building this turbo kit, so the whole turbo kit's built by me, I bought flanges and Schedule 10 pipe and just made everything work. So that's why everything fits in, still has AC. Intercooler piping kit is just a CX Racing. I wasn't gonna overpay money just for fucking piping. It works perfectly, no leaks, nothing's wrong with it. Same thing with their clamps and their boots. Yeah, and I think that's pretty much it on the setup. I do want to do an upgraded shifter on this thing, and I'm still indecisive because I do get problems with the fan on this thing and this thing getting hot, and I know it's because I'm keeping the AC. So I'm gonna upgrade the fan, see how it goes. There's a company called G-Speed and another one, I can't remember the name of the other company. I'm gonna look at the two. They're both priced about the same to do spall fans in this thing and get rid of that stock fan with the stock controller, because that's what's happening on this. The stock controller for some reason is making the wiring hot as fuck on this, and when I beat the hell out of it, the plug that goes into the controller for the fan melts the plug, and then the connections don't connect, and then the fan cuts out, and then we get overheating issues. But you saw that I put this half-ass fucking radiator shroud in. I'm gonna build this better because I want to make it out of carbon fiber over the winter too. So we're gonna make something that looks good, but this has been functional as fuck. It got me about 15 to 20 degrees lower in temperatures with driving on the highway, because it keeps temperature when we're driving. It's just when you're coming stop and go in traffic or at lights and the fan's not fucking working, it starts overheating real quick because you got this hot ass turbo in here doing all kinds of crazy shit. And then for intake, I got a turbo guard. When we repaint it, I'm gonna put a inlet on this so we can get direct feed air from the outside going into the turbo, just to get things cooler. But honestly, it's been running perfectly fine on this thing for almost 2 years. I had no issues whatsoever, just here and there little dumb shit, trying to make a turbo car a street car as well, because I do daily drive this and put like 30-40,000 miles on it a year. The interior on this thing, we open up, this door always has problems, completely stock, so that's something that we're going to address to this this winter. We got a fire extinguisher down there that you guys saw that I did a video on that, and I think that's about it on the setup here. There's not much to this. I tried to keep it about as stock as possible. and make sure that this thing runs all the time. And it's been working that way. As you can see, I didn't align the fenders correctly and Laura broke this. So I think one thing I want to do too is I want to get another, I'm going to fix this just so I have these fenders as well. And I'm going to get ZR1 fenders and fit those and paint those so I can have options, because it's literally like 15 bolts to unbolt the fender and you can bolt the new one on. So yeah, that's the setup. Oh, and for future stuff, because I already told you what we're going to be doing with the engine, I have a set of field coilovers. I want to do a big brake kit in the front, because these brakes, when I'm doing like 150, 120, you can tell that the brakes aren't good enough for the setup that we have here. They definitely get a little sketchy when you're trying to come to a stop quick, but they do stop the car, so it's not like they're not working at all. It's just they could be better, because I got EBC rotors and pads on here. Just they're track pads, so they do bite a little bit better, but the size of them is just not good for the power setup, especially when we're going to add another 200 horsepower to this in the springtime. So I'm hoping to be 850, 900 for the springtime next year. But yeah, I haven't really been driving it much because the front tires, I'm waiting for new ones to come in, because on the inside the alignment was a little bit off because it's set up for a race system, so the inside started showing some steel belt. But yeah, other than that, that's the setup on this thing. I fucking love this car and super happy with how everything's coming out with it. It's more geared towards roll racing and just street driving and having fun. That car right there, we're gonna go into an all-out drift build or drag build, and I want to make 1600 horsepower out of that thing with an iron block 6.0 and twin turbos. So that'll be a build coming up soon, but we have to finish the BMW, the Datsun, and there's an R6 in there that we're going to be doing too. So all right guys, this long-winded here, but I went over the full setup just so you guys know what I'm running here and future plans. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up. Don't forget to smash the subscribe button, and I will talk to y'all later. Peace.